Okay, and welcome everybody to this week's live recording episode of MouseMinds here. We are live for you on YouTube as always, and Twitch and Facebook on the respective MouseMinds pages on all those channels. And I apologize for that. My mic is not cooperating today. I don't know why there's a lot of static, but there is. But I am joined this week by our amazing co-host here, Michael and Luella,
Hey everyone.
and
Hey, good evening.
we are going to talk this week about some of the live action movies. Of course, we just had the Stitch release this week, which was awesome. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, and I wanted to give Luella a chance to give her thoughts on the Disneyland 70th stuff. And I also, because I just saw this in front of me, I just wanted to flash the photos of the new parade coming to Magic Kingdom because it looks awesome. So we'll talk about that too. But first, so I've been seeing nothing but Disneyland 70th on my Facebook feed. Um, I've already planned a trip to go out there next year in January. I'm looking forward to it. Because I all I've seen over and over again is that the Disneyland key. Over and over and over again, all I see is the key, which is awesome because obviously it's something that I'm going to purchase while I'm out there, but it is something that is like I would say viral is the word to describe that. I see it everywhere.
I think it's a very fun way to incorporate pin trading and
Mhm.
interactive activities. I think when you were talking about it last week, and I do really apologize, I had terrible reception at the where I was located, but I did hear some good things, and I personally um, am not a pin person, so I'm not going to partake in that. But I watched a lot of people do it. We kind of stand in the side while they go to a lot of locations, 9 locations, to try to get the added little icon on their key. But if you don't want to spend a lot of money, they had the Magic Band Plus, and I think we were talking about it's another way to incorporate using the Magic Band, because the Magic Band Plus at Disneyland is probably not as needed, but having this little perk is a lot of fun. And it actually changes a bit if you are a Magic Key, if you're a DVC, or if you're a regular ticket holder. So there's something special. And if you're doing it again, there's little things that change. So if you're a collector and a completist, you're going to want to keep doing it each time there. But I think having these fun celebrations like the Disneyland 7D, and I have to say, Disneyland really they go all out on their celebrations. The 60 was amazing, yeah, the 50 was amazing, and the 70 is the same. It's just not, they go all out, so it's a lot of fun. I've gone already twice as a Magic Key holder, but whatever you like to do, if you like to do the rides, if you watch what the parade, if you like to do the interactive, there's something for everyone. And the food, they got some specially themed foods, as they all always do.
They, I think we found the last week that there's over 70 items that are new.
Yes. So the foodies can really enjoy coming and getting something new. And I think we've talked about the clientele at Disneyland is a lot of
Hmm.
repeat visitors, so they have to do something new. But yeah, come out in January. There's a tour I want to take, and I tried to book it on the opening day, and it was all sold out. So I need to. It's going to be around a while, but I'm going to try to get into that tour.
Yeah, it all looks amazing, and I do apologize. Hold on, my mic is being really bad today. All right, there we go. Maybe I don't. Okay. All right. No, it does look amazing. Everything looks amazing out there for the festival. Lots of amazing stuff coming. Are already there for the event. The key being seems to be the highlight or the most viral thing that's out there.
Yes, and they updated a lot of the rides. I don't know if you talked about it last week, but my background, Small World, is one of my favorites, and they added Coco in it, so that's a fun thing.
That's a permanent addition.
Yes, yes,
Okay,
yeah.
good.
In the Mexico part, the Coco. I don't know. I think it.
But they've already themed out some of the countries, right? So that's already a thing for you guys, right? But now that at least they can keep adding
Yes,
characters.
yes. So we already have Lilo and Stitch in there. Woody. They have a lot of characters, and the big one added is now Coco. Miguel.
I mean, I get why they try to have you go uh, visit both parks. That just seems to be a no-brainer. Especially where it originated, and this was the very first. But to go put stuff in there like that takes nothing out of the ride and only enhances it for people, especially young kids
Yeah, and the
who
characters are.
they don't know what these countries are. They don't know
Yeah,
where we
Mhm.
are. But hey, I know Lilo and
Yeah.
Stitch.
yeah, and they're in the vein of Mary Blair. I mean, the characters look like the dolls.
Mhm.
So it doesn't, I believe it doesn't take away from it. I think when they first came out, we had a lot of people who actually were against it. They were afraid it wasn't going to be tasteful, but once they rode the ride and saw that it was tastefully done, not to take away from the original, that kind of, quieted everybody. So it's just cute that they keep adding. Like they're not added right away, but when they're added, it's adorable. It's like Miguel looks fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, that's and there's a lot of great stuff out there going on. Hopefully you guys can hear me better now. And of course, we also got Paint the Night back out there, which is incredible. I'm really excited for that. One of my favorite nighttime parades. So it is a lot. And then of course, the New World of Color show, which is, I mean, oh my God, that is it. And the song that was done by the Rainbow Connection by Boys to Men, another just amazing song. Like I can't I can't even imagine seeing that in person at the park. That's gonna be so awesome because they did such a good job with that soundtrack for that show this time. It is the best soundtrack that they've ever done for World of Color, in my opinion. And I cannot wait to see it. It looks so incredibly amazing.
Yeah, I still have to see it. I haven't seen it, but I did watch Paint the Night. That is my favorite parade.
Yeah, mine too. Well, we'll see. I mean, we have a new parade coming here, which looks pretty amazing. It,
Yeah, it's about
so
time.
I know we've needed a nighttime parade for a while, and of course, everything is happening down here live because they are, doing the every time this year at Disney Universal as we go into the summer months, we have this little break between at the beginning of. Kind of like the beginning of May. Well, I guess it's the end of May now, but right before summer there, where all the parks do their media events and invite people out. And of course, they couldn't do it last week because of the opening of Epic. So now Disney is doing theirs this week. And I'm sure the following weeks we'll have the other parks in Central Florida doing some of their media events, which I've seen some great stuff coming out of all the parks in Florida or in Orlando for this summer. Lots of great nighttime shows and things coming. It's going to be a very awesome summer with lots and lots and lots of fun things to do. But yeah, I mean, you guys at Disneyland are having quite a celebration out there. Over 70, I think it said it was over 70 new items, food items around the parks, various Disneyland 70th food items around the park. So much amazing stuff. Oh my gosh, I just looked at my phone and saw they showed I was looking at stuff to see what was going on with the parade, the Starlight, Disney Starlight at Magic Kingdom, and I saw a shot of one of the floats, and oh my god, I shouldn't have looked. It looks amazing. But I'll show you guys the images. Did you have anything else you wanted to add about Disneyland 70?
No, just make it out, check it out, have fun, and enjoy 70 years of truly Disney magic. And but I'm always a big fan. If you are coming here and you haven't been to Disneyland, Disney is actually really ingrained in the city of LA, and to kind of
Mm-hmm.
go to see where it was all, I love going to the Griffith Park carousel and see where he actually thought of the idea of Disneyland. There's a
Mm-hmm.
bench there. There's a lot of history there. That's a really fun tour. And if you get the opportunity and you really want to kind of do it with an Imagineer, Bob Gurr does his
Mm-hmm.
own tour around
Oh, I didn't know that.
LA. Yeah, he doesn't do it very
That's
often,
amazing.
but yeah, just go on Bob Gurr tours or something. And he just did one over the weekend, and he'll take you to Griffith Park. He'll take you to the Disney Studios. He'll take you like on the outside, but it's Bob Gurr, so
Yeah.
he'll tell you stories. And I think you kind of like dig in and ride this bus and see all the sights, because I think that's as a Disney fan, and to see
Mm-hmm.
how it all germinated, is really fascinating.
And the great thing about anything that involves Bob Gurr is he has so many amazing stories, and he remembers. I mean, I don't think there's a second that he was with Walt that he doesn't remember exactly what happened at what time of the day. So an amazing, amazing resource of amazing Walt stories and things like that. And if you've ever had the chance to hear him speak at a D23 event or anything, it's just it, one of the greatest Imagineers of all time. And such an amazing guy. I mean, I've ran into him at the parks numerous times and gotten photos with him and just walked right up to him and in total awe that it's Bob Gurr and he is just the nicest person you will ever meet. So, I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
doing a
but
tour with
you,
him, I can only
yeah,
imagine.
that'd be
And I
fun. But
think we're
you
down
can
to, I
go
mean, outside
yourself.
of,
Yeah.
let's say, outside of, I mean, I don't even think who's left, but as far as the old guard goes, I think we're down to just Bob
Yeah,
now, right? Yeah, before
yeah,
we start shifting over to the Tony
Yeah.
Baxters and
yeah,
some of the more contemporary guys, I don't think there are many left from the original park.
yeah.
No, no. So if
And
you're
he's still
coming in
going.
January, yeah, see if he
Still
has a
sharp,
tour
still out
in
there,
Jan.
still active. So good for him.
Very active, very active. Bob Gurr is probably compared to all of the other Imagineers and people that worked with Walt. I think Bob Gurr is easily the most active out of all of them, hands down. And always has been. He just, he always enjoyed having a voice and telling these amazing stories. So it's really cool.
So we got Floyd Norman. I'm trying to think who else might still be around, but not many. So
So get the chance in while you can. I guarantee, and I know Lilo will agree with me that you will definitely not regret it. Some amazing, amazing stories. All right. So moving on from that here, I wanted to just, as I stated earlier, of course, we're getting tons of announcements and we're seeing all kinds of stuff and, uh, you know, uh, you know, coming out for new things at the park, and we just saw that the parade was announced, the new nighttime parade for Magic Kingdom, and it would be remiss as we are a Disney podcast if I did not at least show you some of the uh, clips of it. Obviously, if you're listening to the podcast, tune into our feed, or just look at the Disney blog. They have them up there for you to see. But the floats look absolutely amazing, and I'll just throw them up there for you to see. But I would say the floats are, and you guys can correct me once you see them, but they look like a mix to me of Paint the Night and the Main Street Electrical Parade. So very fantastic. I'm just gonna throw one up here. This is Moana here on her float crossing the sea here, and you can see it's just lights everywhere. It's just glowing. Everything about that is just incredible. And I mean, these floats look simply amazing. And then we move on to uh, you know, Peter Pan here, and it's just all this is just it's so pretty. All these floats are so pretty here with the princesses and their princes dancing. And I mean, they even showed I saw like a clip they showed a video at the event, and what you're seeing here is really what these parade floats actually look like in person. I mean, obviously, the lighting is very much the same. They look amazing. So I'm super, super, super pumped for this. We've needed a night. We've been begging for a nighttime
Yeah.
show for since I don't know when. But it's so nice to finally have something at night besides fireworks for everyone to do. And I cannot wait. I think this is June 20th is the official launch date. So I don't even know what day that is, but it doesn't matter because June 20th, I will be there. I will get a spot early. It's a Friday. So I will head right over there and claim my spot on Main Street, and I will sit there for hours if I have to. It doesn't matter. But these parade floats look absolutely amazing, and I am so, so, so excited for this. Michael, are you excited?
I'm going to be there on the 19th. Of course, they're going to start it on the 20th. But I'm never one to go first day. So, I mean,
Well,
it can't even say let the crowds disperse because
you never know.
it's
I
going
mean,
to
the
be, it's going
19th
to be
they may do a preview or something
a
on the
preview, I
19th.
wouldn't
You never
mind.
know.
But
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, it's not even like, well, I'll wait till the second week because this thing is going to be packed for months and months and months.
Do you think they'll do a annual pass holder preview?
I don't know if they do an annual pass holder preview, but they've been known to do it like the night before the official review, just to like test it out with a crowd and
Hmm.
see what it's like, and kind of like an unannounced preview. Like they announce it that day and say, hey, this is a preview that we're doing, and so on and so forth. But they have done that in the past. But you know, it is something that I could totally see happening. Um,
See, with the pass holder preview, I don't know if they would lose more money than not because a lot of the pass holders aren't local. So to shut the park down, unless you say I'm going to close it at 10 and then we'll start it, which wouldn't be
yeah,
bad, that'd be one way to do it. Just, but then even then you'd have to kick everyone out starting at maybe 8:30 so that you can really
Okay.
clear the park and only it's not like it's tucked away in a corner. It's, even if they did it halfway, it's a big stretch to
yeah.
control the entire crowd and ensure everyone is exclusively a pass holder.
I see.
But it'd be
Okay.
nice. I would certainly take advantage if they did that.
Oh, I would totally take advantage of that too. But yeah, unfortunately, I don't see that as something. I see it more of a situation as because if I remember correctly, one of the last times they did a fireworks show or something, they they did like an unannounced preview, like they announced it like 6 p.m. that day or something the day before and said, "Oh, we're gonna see the or see the fireworks show tonight," or something like that. And then they did the show. It was like they didn't like put it on the schedule or anything like that. They just happened to do it. So I could potentially see that happening, but definitely on the 20th, I will be there for sure because I cannot wait. We need a nighttime parade so bad. I mean,
I mean, they must
fireworks
be
are great,
running.
but
They must be running practice parades because you can't wait until the 20th to pull everything out and find out that some of the lights don't work, some of the features don't work.
mhm,
So they have to have some kind of a dry run dress rehearsal thing after hours.
of
Uh,
course.
Even if
Yeah.
you
They'll
keep the volume
usually.
down or something, you just
Yeah.
want to make sure that everything's working. Even if you can't just run it for 10 minutes in the, in the back there, but they have the Main Street vehicles. So they'll have to
Well,
figure
that too,
something
and you
out.
want to have, and it's not even about the lights. It's you want to have the whole crowd or the whole,
The
have
ensemble, everyone. Yeah. I mean,
the
you can rehearse.
everybody walk down the street and kind of
Right.
get the flow of everything, and yeah,
Yep.
the cast.
You can rehearse backstage, but until you're doing it and you're doing it for the duration of the parade.
Hmm.
So we'll see. It's a month away.
Agreed, 100%. So we'll see what happens there, but I would imagine they'll probably do something the day before. It seems to be the thing that is going on, and of course, speaking of, before we go into our topic here, which we want to talk about Lilo and Stitch and live action films and so on and so forth, our main topic here, we do want to say I know that the end is near for Muppets at Hollywood Studios. I'm going to see that this weekend, so it'll be nice to get that in before that closes. I'm going to miss that show, but I'm looking forward to the Monsters Inc. coaster that we are getting, because that is going to be a lot of fun, and something else that I think a lot of people have been hoping that we would get for a long time, and it actually looks. The design of it looks really cool, so it'll be really neat to finally have that. But yeah, so let's go into our topic here. So I myself and Luella saw. I don't know if Michael saw Lilo and Stitch yet, but we saw the Lilo and Stitch movie, the live action film. And there's been a lot of controversy, I would say, with live action films and Disney, and you know some of them get okay reviews. Some of them get, most of them, I would say, get either okay reviews, or they kind of fall flat. And I think a lot of the um, live action movies, especially ones like Snow White, kind of really fell flat for people. They just weren't willing to accept live action movies, because they're one of their big audiences is people like myself that grew up with these animated versions of these films, and it's harder for us to accept these films. But I will say that I think that Lilo and Stitch is going to be, or is, the film that turns the tide on that, because of the fact that it is, I haven't talked to anyone yet that's seen it that was not disappointed in the film whatsoever. Was it a shot for shot remake of the original? No. Were there some characters that weren't in the live action that were in the original? Yes. But the way they did the film, the way they did Stitch, everything about that movie was just absolutely incredible. And I mean, talking about an emotional movie, the ending of the movie, which I won't spoil for you, is just amazing and so awesome. So I don't know how you felt about it, Luella, but it was awesome. I thought it was amazing.
Well, I think when you do live action in general, the purpose of a live action, I mean, I could be wrong, but is we're trying to put a fresh take on a
Mhm.
classic, and they're trying to reach out to a new audience. So I've always said that, like, for example, you have Snow White. Well, I don't think the target audience is the people who are watching Snow White. Now, granted, though, Snow White was done a long time ago. That movie was born before any of the Disney parks were open. So a fresh take on it would be good. I think the drama happened is because, some of the comments of the actress that played Snow White. I think that's really where it came down to, and then how you're going to politically correct do dwarfs. So it was probably had the hiccups from the get-go. But, one of the first live actions was Cinderella, and I think everybody loved Cinderella, and people loved that movie. So, but Lilo and Stitch was done not really too long ago. I think it still has its fresh audience that watched it years ago, and so. But
Mhm.
Stitch is a beloved character, and so
Yes.
everybody wants to, in a way, see a live action Stitch. I did. I'm
Yeah.
wearing my Stitch shirt. So, I mean, I just love Stitch, and I love Lilo and the girl that they had to play Lilo. I mean, Maya
Hmm.
Kalaloha. I mean, she's Lilo.
She's
Um,
awesome.
yeah, and one of the nice things about a live action, in my opinion, is to see the world in a live setting versus animation. Animation's fantastic, but it's even like seeing Wicked, like seeing a stage version and seeing you can really expand on the world. That's what we want to see, the expansion of the world. I don't want a frame for frame carbon copy. I have that. Expand on the story, expand on things that you couldn't do in the animation feature. And I think they did that very well.
And that's true. I think they did a great job with that. But I think a lot of people, again, are, I think a lot of the criticism with these films the live action films is the fact that they're not a carbon copy of the original movie, which I agree with you. It's got to be a different story. It's got to expand on the story. I think Lilo and Stitch was close enough to the original where it really connected with everyone, because everyone's like, oh, you can't mess with Stitch. Stitch is, such a beloved character, but it is just different enough that makes it fresh and new. And I think that's really resonated with a lot of people. But I don't like. I understand why people want a carbon copy, and I've been there myself on some of these films. Like I wanted them, I've kind of wanted that too on some of them. But I understand, I think as long as they don't go too far away from the main story, make it too different, then it works for me. And I think they did that perfectly with Stitch.
And see, I think, for all the haven't seen the film, not sure if I'm ever going to see it. Maybe when it hits TV, don't know. I've read the pros and cons, and no, this character was changed, this character was omitted.
Yeah.
Even without a character, if the movie holds up and you omit one
Hmm.
character and it doesn't destroy the film, and okay, one piece was changed, but the movie itself holds up, doesn't matter. Is it okay
Yeah.
without that character? Is it still an enjoyable
Yeah.
movie? Is the story still great? Are the actors still amazing? No, Stitch is not a live action character. You can't make him a live action character. Of course, he has to be CGI.
Hmm.
If the CG doesn't pull it out, and with all the advances in the technology right now,
Hmm.
I think that was the way to go rather than do an entire CG film, because you don't need it when the
Yeah.
majority of the characters are human. So I think they did
Yeah.
it in a perfectly acceptable way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree with you.
I love
No, go
seeing
ahead.
Hawaii. I mean, I love Hawaii. I just came back from Hawaii. So to see Hawaii is just gorgeous and beautiful. And so you can really see the culture. And if you want the carbon copy, then you have the animation. You can watch that
Yeah.
movie. Like I said, they're not trying to, it's like doing a park in another country. They're not
Hmm.
shooting for us, they're shooting for
Yeah.
the people there. So,
Yeah.
if this brings in more fans, if this brings in
I
more people, and I think it did very well in this in this
Oh,
weekend.
It
it
did.
did
So,
very well. And
yeah.
and the thing is, like, I think with this one, what made it sell so well, and what people like the most about it, is the fact that they kept the soul of the film. They kept Stitch as Stitch. He's crazy, he's wild, he's mischievous, but he also has a very big heart. And I think by the end of the movie, if you didn't fall in love with Stitch, it's like it's like the Grinch. If your heart does not grow 3 times its size by seeing the end of that film, and you are just, I don't know what to tell you. You are a true Grinch then, because that was the most, like, it was almost like getting a hug from Stitch seeing the end of that movie. It was so spot on amazing. And I think for anyone that grew up with that film, that's exactly how they felt. And it's like their friend that they grew up with came to life and was there with them in person. And that was pretty awesome, especially, all the years, especially on this coast, that I've seen Stitch in the parks. I've been on Stitch's Great Escape at Magic Kingdom, and seeing all the Stitch stuff that we've had on this coast. To actually see him in that movie was something that was truly like next level. And I think if they can continue that with the other franchises that they have, um, it'll do just as awesome as Stitch.
So do you
And what I think this film had going for it, the one big thing, was Chris Sanders.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy who created
Yeah.
the movie now has a major hand in creating this film. So it's
Yeah.
not
yes.
even like another director taking over. This is the guy, the same
Yeah.
guy providing the voice, the same guy who created
Yeah.
these characters, is the man behind this
Yeah.
new film. He's not going to mess up his prized possession. He's going to do everything he can to make this a quality film.
Yeah.
And anything that he felt he didn't capture the first time, here's your chance to really go out there and
Yeah.
do well. So
No, exactly. So what do your thoughts, because Disney has done a lot of live action adaptations. So is this something that they should continue doing? You talked about the creator being able to do hands-on. I mean, that's what small Snow White didn't have that luxury. It was made in 30s.
Yeah, of
So,
course.
so you don't, and times are changing, right? So there's other things to think about.
Yeah, and I guess with a movie like this where you don't necessarily have things that won't hold up.
Yeah.
There's no, I don't say political, but there are no, oh, we've changed our views and now we feel this way. It's a kid's film.
Hmm.
And there were no controversial moments from the animated film that we had to go and correct moving into this
Yeah.
film.
Mhm.
When it's that wholesome, you'd really have to try really, really hard to screw it up.
Yeah.
And I'm glad they didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're 100% right. But when it comes to the live action films, you're right. If the original director is not available, how are you going to have the heart and soul of the film in the new film? But then again, too, how do you take something from that long ago and make it relevant and live action? That's going to be difficult as well because things were a lot different back then than they are now. So, it some of those I understand are very difficult and they just don't necessarily work. But I enjoy the live action films. I you know, I mean, I wish do I wish that we had some like more animated stuff? Maybe, but I'm not 100% against the live action films. I think Stitch really turned me around on the live action films. I wasn't a huge fan of them up until this point, and now I'm like, wow, this is what it can be. This is like this is it. It can be this, and that was awesome. And it's like I always go into movies, and there's so many movies that come out. I mean, every week we have like two or three movies that come out, and you know even movies that I watched when I was a kid, that I think about, I just don't have the time to watch them all. And I want to watch them, and I don't have the time and I have to pick ones that I would watch over and over again. And this is a movie that I could essentially, I mean, I could really see myself watching again and again and again, and there's a few Disney movies that are like that. Frozen is another one. The Frozen films. I mean, I can do that with them too. But in some the older films too. But this is definitely one of those that I could see myself watching over and over and over again. It is that good of a movie.
Hmm. Yeah.
See, and I was thinking about Frozen and how you do something like that, and that would be another one that would be, for me, uh, too heavily CGI, where they'd have to do all the effects
Mhm.
in CGI. I mean, you could do the story, but can you do it without being too computer driven?
Yeah,
Yes.
and the problem with computer driven is, especially when it came to Stitch, is there were characters that were left out of the Lilo and Stitch movie. Well, I think Gantu was one of them. Yeah, Gantu was not in this one. Gantu was one of them. And people were like, "Oh my gosh, there's no." I mean, I had friends that are like, "Oh, there's no Gantu in this one. Like, what are they gonna do?" And the reason why they had to do that is because it would have taken them so long to do the CGI for all those characters when they took all that energy and put it into Stitch and into animating Stitch, which I think was the right decision because every part of Stitch was perfect. So sometimes, I mean, I can understand people's, reasoning why they may not like that these characters are missing, but sometimes they have to make sacrifices to make these movies, and I really feel like it wasn't really a sacrifice. I think they did a beautiful job.
And that was my earlier point. You remove Gantu, is it really destroying the film? Can somebody who never saw the original animated film go in there and say, "I feel like there was something
Hmm.
missing. There's a plot hole here that's not." I think you can go in and enjoy this film without that character, and until you consciously realize he's not here, the story flows. You're not missing anything. I don't imagine that would ruin the film experience for someone. outside of maybe your favorite character not being there. Story's the same. The heart's still there. I think they did okay.
Yeah, they did an excellent job, and I think as long as they can continue this down this path with the future films, but again, like I said, like we've said, with some of these films, it's extremely hard to do that because of the fact that these films were made many years ago, and it's very hard to keep that same feeling alive in those films because they don't have the same directors that they had in the past. So you have to kind of have these new adaptations of these films, and I think those films are great for the younger generation, but for the people that grew up on those films, they don't take as kindly to them just because of the fact that they don't have the same heart and soul as the originals did, which I can kind of understand.
Yeah, some films I couldn't imagine. I couldn't see them trying to do a new Peter Pan without going so far over and just massacring the cast and this and that. These are things at one time, and yeah, a different world, but your founder is the one who greenlit this movie.
Yeah,
He was totally okay with it. Now we're going so far as to changing rides and costumes because nobody complained, but Disney said somebody might have complained. So we have to go cater to the people who might not even be thinking about it. So what is the next one? Now, Robert, to your point, do we want animated? Do we want this? I don't want it to get to the point where they see how well this performed and go, "Hey, we missed the mark. We should be doing live action
yeah,
exclusively
of course.
because this performed well." At least we have Snow White close enough in memory that we go, "You know what? We can't go just there." But what's the next movie?
Elio.
What is your next animated retelling?
Well,
Yeah,
retelling,
Elio.
I don't
But
know, but
but
Elio is coming. So we're
but do we
getting new
have any?
stories.
Yeah, we're getting new Pixar stuff. So I mean, Pixar is
Mhm.
definitely going to be doing that. Um, do we have? When was the last time? Let me look and see here. Um, I
What are we looking up?
I'm trying to think here. So EVO is definitely the next one. I'm trying to think when the last so the last uh so the last animated film that we had from Walt Disney was Moana 2. So as long as they keep those going too, because I like I mean, Pixar has its own like style and uniqueness that is truly Pixar. You can pick out a Pixar film without even knowing that it's a Pixar film just by the style of animation and everything like that. But Walt Disney Animation has their own style of films too. So I like the mix of I wouldn't want it to be just all live action and Pixar films. I'd want them to sprinkle in some Walt Disney animated animation studios, those types of films as well. Because I like those as I like those too. And but the thing is with Disney now is there's so many movies. It's so hard to be a Disney fan right now because there's so much stuff coming out and there's not enough time to watch it all. Let's be honest. I mean, we
Mhm.
have Elio coming out, Fantastic Four is coming out, Lilo and Stitches came out. There's all these things coming out. There's always like new Marvel stuff coming out, new Star Wars stuff coming out. Like there's always little shows here and there. And I appreciate that so much. And I'm glad that we've gotten to a point where Disney owns all these IPs and can come out with all these amazing, amazing programs and television series and movies and so on and so forth, and it's a fantastic thing, but it's like so much like for me, like like there was a point where like you 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 would see you were able to see all the Disney films, you were able to see all the all the animated movies or all the Disney films, you could see them all, and now it's like there's so much stuff coming out, it's like almost impossible to see everything. It's crazy.
There's a lot. Well, but when I had asked what the next film was, I don't mean the next release. I mean if they were going to go animated, what is your next animated attempt? What film do they say? You know what? This is something worth a retelling. But we do have a question, comment in the chat If I could pose it to
Yeah,
you too, I don't
please.
know if you saw it, Robert, but
I did not.
bigger problem was the end, the ending, going away from the family sticking together. Central message of the animated movie. What do you think?
I didn't have
I
a
mean,
problem with
The
that.
end of Lilo and Stitch
I don't
was the
necessarily.
ending going away from the family sticking together,
As a
which is usually the
spoiler
central
alert,
message of the animated movie.
spoiler alert, though, we should say that. But I
Yeah,
personally think, uh,
I don't think they
a
went away from that.
I think it still comes to the heart of what it is. It's also about not being selfish, and because you love your family so much, you want to do what's best. And so I love the change in the story. It makes you look forward to, I don't necessarily know what the ending was, when I'm watching this
You know,
movie.
and I guess that's another great point, Luella, that if you're going to go in there and you know the entire story beginning to end, then you'll watch it just to
Hmm.
watch it, but either have nothing to look forward to, you have no twist, you have no plot twist. You go, oh my gosh, that was pretty cool that they did that. So, if you're going to take small liberties like that, sometimes maybe it's might be a little worthwhile. Maybe.
And I don't have any. I don't have any issues with the ending either. I think that the final scene with Stitch uh, it was so on point with family and everything else that there's no way that you could say. I mean, I understand what they're talking about in some of the final scenes, and I won't say exactly what happens because I don't want to spoil it. But I don't think they. I think I think the final scenes are ohana all the way. Let's just say that. I think it is 100% ohana. No one gets left behind, and they really show that. And the last 15, 20 minutes of that film are just an emotional roller coaster. And it is, and and you're gut wrenched, and then you're so happy and you're smiling, and I mean, I don't know. All I know
I
is,
think if you take some liberties and nobody leaves going, "What the heck did I just watch?" Oh, you ruined it by the end. If everyone left and you can still feel
Yeah, I
great
think that's
inside, and okay, that was a worthwhile experience and
yeah,
fantastic.
I think so. So I think you're asking what the next upcoming live action remake is.
Yeah, yeah. Where do you go from here? We had a hit, we had a
Well, it's
miss,
Moana. Moana's the next one.
yeah,
right? But that one's already been
Yeah.
announced, so that's in the
So I have a
works.
list
So
here.
again,
Yeah.
I'm not asking what's in the
Yeah.
pipeline. If somebody's sitting in a boardroom going somewhere, okay, what movie are we gonna make next? And I can't see Moana. Oh, well, Moana has a lot of different characters, and again, we may be CG driven here, but what's the next film? If they try to do Robin Hood, that won't be live action. That'll be back to your Lion King, where nothing is real and it's realistic looking.
true. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how. I mean, I what I would like to see personally, and it never has worked out. Is I like the movies that are somewhat based on things in the parks. Like I love Tomorrowland. I thought Tomorrowland was a great movie. Um, Movies like that.
Oh, you're the one who liked that
Yeah,
film.
I
Okay,
know. I'm like one of
I
the
heard
few.
somebody
I'm one
liked
of the
it.
few.
Oh,
So
Now I know the
I
guy. This is
loved
exciting.
Tomorrowland. Like loved
I
it. I loved
I
it. And I even participated in their weird type of promotion. I don't know if you recall that. It was along with the pin,
yeah,
that one. It
I
was a
did that
very
too.
immersive type of I love Tomorrowland, but
Yep.
it was a brand new story and it just kind of didn't hit, even though I think it we should be doing original stories or not we.
I think that original stories that come from some of the attractions based in the parks, I
Yeah.
think could actually be something really great. I honestly
Yeah.
think, as for what it's worth, and I'll I'll take this to the grave. I think that Figment would make a great movie. I think some sort of Figment movie would be absolutely amazing. I mean, I people will say, "Oh, you like Epcot," you just say that because you like Epcot. No, I think he could be, even if it was like the story of Figment or some sort of Figment adventure or Figment. It doesn't even have to involve the Dream Finder. It can just be Figment. I still think that he could be another character that people could just fall in love with because everyone's already fallen in love with him at Epcot. And I really feel like they could take that to the next level and make that into a movie and make something out of it, and and make something great with that. I mean, I think there are
It,
IPs that are already available in the parks that they're not utilizing that they could use for future films.
it would just have to be a really solid story.
Yeah,
You don't want to just try
of
a bunch of
course.
things and see what sticks. Like, you have to have this flushed out.
Yeah,
You have to know where it's
of
going. You have to
course.
know where it's ending. I don't know if enough of the fans now who aren't 40, 50 even know the Dreamfinder.
Of course.
So if you can do it without it, or create a whole new character
Yeah.
for him, or a new retelling, not having Dreamfinder for me wouldn't ruin the
No,
film, because I don't think enough people know who he is at this point.
no. I think you either in my mind, I've always had this vision of not enough people know the Dream Finder, but I think if you create a movie, a situation where you explain the Dream Finder and kind of tell the tale of Figment and how he came to life and everything else, and kind of made that into a movie, kind of based off the original attraction, and then maybe had someone like the person that always sticks out in my mind. I think that could be a great dream finder if you went that route. Would be someone maybe like Jack Black or something like that. I think he has
Right.
the character and the kind of silly attitude that would come along with the dream finder that would do great for that. But I also agree that not too many people know who that is, and you know Figment alone would be just as good. But I still think some sort of Figment film would do amazing, and it gives them an opportunity to not only create a great film, but also it gives them a chance to use that film to reimagine the ride that they currently have. And you kind of get two birds because now the studio can help pay for refurbishments on the Imagination ride, and it can come out of their budget because of the film and cross promotion and all that good stuff that Disney loves. And then you kind of get two things there. But I really do feel like if done correctly, you know, they can make Figment as lovable as they did Stitch.
Right. And including the Dreamfinder would have to be a reintroduction
Yes,
to this character that has, we remember him,
of
but
course.
I'm say the average park goer doesn't.
Yeah,
And to go in there and do this the right way, you'd have to, and plus you can go anywhere you want with it.
yeah,
He has no backstory.
yeah,
You can create this
yeah,
character as well as you want.
yeah,
So it has potential.
yeah. It has a lot of potential.
Nice.
Do you have any
Very good.
IPs in the parks that you like, Luella, for a potential movie?
I mean, I enjoyed the versions of the movie that were rides. So I enjoyed Jungle Book. I enjoyed Haunted
Hmm.
Mansion. You know, I enjoyed
Jungle
Tomorrowland.
Book, Jungle
Oh, Jungle
Cruise, you mean?
Cruise.
Yeah, Jungle
Jungle
Cruise. Yeah,
Oh,
Cruise.
Cruise.
Sorry,
Okay,
Jungle
yeah.
Cruise.
Cruise is good.
Yep, no, you're
So,
good.
and those are rides that are in like multiple Disney parks. I mean,
Hmm.
I'm not going to, I think Figment's a great character, but coming from California, there's there's no love. Nobody really knows who Figment is.
Yeah, of
So I
course.
would I would think that for that, more like going straight to Disney Plus would be a great introduction. And because it
Yeah,
all comes down to a good story. Like, do I think
yeah,
that it can hold a
Right.
film? I don't think my family would go see that film, to tell you the truth. They don't know who he is. We've been to there, we've ridden that ride, but
yeah. But
in
you're not as
the more
attached.
times we've gone there,
There's no.
maybe you rode it twice. So it wouldn't. But if you did it on Disney Plus and he had a series, then you develop a
Yeah,
love. That's what it needs to do, and then you
and
go in the
then and
movie.
then
Like, you
take
have
that
to
to the
develop,
theater. Hmm.
because I think that's what happened with Stitch. Like, you develop a love
Yeah.
for this character. Now I want the T-shirt. Now I want the earrings. Now I want that. So
Hmm.
that's what they need to do with Figment, because it's a beloved character. He's very adorable. But I think if you haven't gone to Epcot and he's not in every single park, you don't have the fan base in a big global scale. Not to
Hmm.
say he's not lovable, because he definitely is. but globally for a
So
movie,
it's like
yeah,
something with the Jungle Cruise. There's no story.
Yeah,
So and that's another one where you
yeah,
can go anywhere you want.
yeah.
There's no, I have to hold it to
Well,
this.
yeah.
You can put in Easter eggs for the fans, but that has to be a standalone story because you don't write it and go, hey, this is exactly like the movie.
but you could do that with
This
other
isn't Pirates
attractions.
where you're shoehorning things in.
You could do that with other attractions too. I mean, you could do that with like Big Thunder Mountain. You could
Yeah,
do that
then
with Space Mountain. Like it really, I mean, any of those attractions, honestly, would I think would lead enough to make a movie. I don't know. You'd really have to dictate out some story for both of those because again, like you said, there's really no story to those attractions other than the baseline. Like with Big Thunder Mountain, you're on a crazy mine train ride, but having a movie where someone says this is the wildest ride in the wilderness or something like that. I could totally see something like that and people enjoying something like that. But I think that maybe just because in the past they were the movies that have been based on lands or attractions in the parks haven't done as amazing as they thought they would. They're a little hesitant to do those. But yeah,
Yeah, because anything based on Space Mountain would be just some kind of a crazy sci-fi
like a
movie
space
because you
adventure.
wouldn't
Yeah,
go in
true,
there and say, unless you have the building and that's 2 seconds on film.
true,
After that, you
yeah.
have nothing to go off.
true, very true.
Now it's Tom Carter, John
Yeah,
Carter, and
yeah,
that
true,
was
true,
a
true,
terrible film.
true, 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 true. Yeah, I don't know. I just there's I just feel like there's so many options and there's so many things that we have inside the parks already. There's IPs that have been in the parks that could be created into something, but we just have to see what they come up with and where we kind of go from there and I mean they're constantly coming up. My only complaint with movies now is they're kind of writing a lot of the IPs over and over and over again, especially with like Marvel. We're seeing like, like so many, like you see some of the IPs over and over and over again. And it's fine. It's just, I'll be honest with you, like I'm excited for Fantastic Four, but Marvel has become a little stagnant for me, and so has Star Wars. It's just I don't like get super excited for any of the movies anymore or any of the stuff. I mean, I am excited for Fantastic Four. It's probably the first Marvel film I've been excited for in a little while, since like almost it's like Avengers. But it's just I don't know. I don't know.
Did you watch Thunderbolts?
Yeah, I feel like they've gone to the well a few too many
What?
times with some of these
Did you
properties,
watch
and
Thunderbolts?
after a while,
I have not seen Thunderbolt yet. A
Oh
lot
my
of people have been
gosh.
talking to me about
What?
Thunderbolt, so
Sorry. You gotta
I
watch
guess I gotta see
Thunderbolts.
it. All right, I'll watch Thunderbolt.
Thunderbolts.
But
Thunderbolts will make you fall in love with Marvel again.
I mean, all right, I'll give it a shot. I mean, I do like there are like a lot of Marvel films, like the Spider-Man movies, things like that. Like I will watch over and over again. Like no problem. I love those movies. Avenger movies, I watch. It's just the newer stuff. I don't know. It just
um,
feels like it's
you
too
gotta
much.
you gotta watch it. You gotta watch it.
All right, I'll check it out. You're not the first person to tell me that. I got told that at work like 4 times
Yeah.
today.
And
So yeah.
I'm not a big Marvel person, so I was pleasantly surprised. So
All right, guys. Well, did you guys have anything else you wanted to add before we wrap this up?
not
no,
at all.
great discussion. Great discussion.
Absolutely. Well, we certainly appreciate everyone for joining us this week. Of course, Michael and Luella for being here. And we will see all of you guys next week. As I always say, if you can dream it, you can do it. Make sure you follow us on YouTube or subscribe to us on YouTube on the Disney and Beyond channel and watch our show live on there. Or Mouse Minds on Twitch, Mouse Minds on Facebook, and then, of course, find us on your favorite podcasting platform. With that being said, that's going to do it for this week's show. Unless you guys had anything else to add, I think we will end it here.